Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll discuss the ethics of the PBS 4th of July fireworks controversy. Also tonight, we'll look at an influx of Asian-themed mega supermarkets in the East Valley. And we'll speak to the new leader of a group that helps local small businesses. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Presumptive presidential candidate Donald Trump and Arizona Senator Jeff Flake had a tense exchange when Trump met with a group of Republican senators today. According to the Washington Post, Trump told Flake that, quote, "You've been very critical of me," to which Flake responded, quote, "Yes, I'm the other senator from Arizona, the one who didn't get captured, and I want to talk to you about statements like that." Flake was referring to Trump, saying that he didn't like military members who were captured in reference to Senator John McCain. Now, Trump said he might start publicly attacking Flake and that Flake was heading for a re-election loss. Flake responded by saying that he wasn't running this year and told Trump to, quote, "Stop attacking Mexicans." Flake later told the Arizona Republic, quote, "I mentioned in there that I still hope to be able to support the nominee, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to think that that's possible." PBS has come under scrutiny for airing recorded fireworks displays during Monday's live broadcast of a Capitol 4th. We discussed the ethics of that decision with Eric Newton, the innovation chief at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Good to have you here on Arizona Horizon. Good to see you again. What happened with PBS on this July 4th fireworks show?
Well, it was a cloudy day, it was a foggy day in Washington, and there was the giant fireworks show was going on, the great music was playing, and the fireworks just looked terrible on television. So some genius producers, and I say that facetiously, at PBS, decided that it would be just fine to use pictures of last year's and other years' fireworks without telling anyone they were doing it. So people noticed.
They interspersed these within the cloudy shots.
They did, but during key parts of the program, it was all old stuff. And so, you know, Twitter went nuts with people noticing that this was happening. Because there was construction scaffolding there that wasn't there this year, that was there in prior years. So they misled people.
Yeah, and one of the hosts of the show said later that the reason they did that was because the live shot was like shooting sparklers into pudding, is I think how he described it. But the critics are saying that basically a live show was promised and it was not delivered.
Right. Well, the smart thing to do, the ethical thing to do, if you think you're going to lose all of your viewers because of it looks like sparklers and pudding, is to just tell the truth. Just say what's happening. You know, it's a mess out there. You can't really see the fireworks, so we're going to use the music live, and we're going to show you great fireworks of the past or of some other places, and you can feel patriotic, and everything is on the up and up. In this country, we're not supposed to use old material and claim it's new. That's what they do at the Beijing Olympics. We're not supposed to do that. We have something called journalism ethics.
Is this, though, a big deal in the sense of this was an entertainment program? It was produced by an independent company, not even PBS. It's not journalism. Is it akin to someone lip-syncing the national anthem, lip-syncing Tony Awards or Emmy Awards or Grammys? Yes
and no. All of these mistakes happen on multiple levels, okay? So they used images of fireworks that didn't actually happen at that time and place. That's actually been done before. The San Francisco Chronicle, back in the day, back decades ago, used to send newspapers all the way to Hawaii to circulate. Those newspapers were called the Bulldog Edition, and they had to go out, hours before it was dark. And so one year there was a picture of this great San Francisco fireworks in the Bulldog Edition in Hawaii, except that it was too foggy to see the fireworks. So this kind of thing happens even at news organizations. But you have to look at the different types of impact of a mistake like this. First of all, it is not the same as blowing up a GM truck and in a story about how they blow up by themselves. It's not the same as your viewers thinking Saddam Hussein was the cause of 9/11. Or that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, or that Al Gore won the presidency. There are plenty of things that have a much greater social impact being wrong than faked fireworks. But social impact is not the only way you would measure a mistake like this. This is PBS. They say they're the most trusted network. So zero tolerance is what they should have, and it's what their ombudsman says they should have. And so you've got the issue of, can you trust that particular news organization, no matter how big the mistake is or how small? It still raises the question of, well, what else is being put out there wrong? What other corners are being cut?
So even though, and this program did at the end of the program, not during the program, I think everyone would agree, it would make much better sense to put the disclaimer on during the program. But there was a disclaimer at the end of the program. It was not, again, it was an independent company, Capitol Concerts. It wasn't PBS. PBS, though, did air it. It wasn't news, it was entertainment. But it's still, how much does it affect the PBS news product?
Well, it's hard to say what the ultimate impact on the news organization is going to be of a mistake like this. Bigger mistakes have caused bigger things to happen. When the internet exposed the fake memos that Dan Rather's 60 Minutes show was using on George W. Bush and his Air National Guard experience, that had a big, impact. The GM truck mistake had a big impact. This one, I don't think it's more like Dewey defeats Truman than it is, which was a famous mistake,
yes.
A famous headline that is in the museum and in a lot of places, than it is some of the other mistakes. However, we would not want a journalism student at Cronkite School to do it, and we could expel them for doing it. It's wrong. You're not supposed to mislead people. Now, you raised an issue of sort of in the grand scheme of things, how important is this? There are, I think it's important to say it's wrong and it shouldn't have happened and they should apologize. But to stop there, I think is also wrong. Why not use this, if we're going to get into the issue of ethics in television, why not use this as a jumping off point to talk about a lot of other things that television does that could be improved? Why stop at just this kind of event?
So, yes or no, impact on PBS's credibility. Did it impact PBS's credibility?
Sure.
Yes or no, was it a breach of trust?
Yes.
Serious on both counts?
Hard to say. Hard to say exactly how serious. Let's look at some of the other things I think are far more serious. When you're watching daytime television, you see guests being interviewed. And if you slow down the video at the very end of the program, you can see that some of those guests are paying to be on that program, and that's not obvious to the readers and viewers. I think that's a bigger problem. It's constant. It's all over the place. It's not one incident by one company with a PBS brand attached to it. One more. There's something that has become the norm now called native advertising. The sponsored content. It's advertising that looks like news, and it succeeds to the extent that it deceives people. Most people, by the academic studies that have been done, do not realize at the time they're looking at it the first time that it's advertising. When major news outlets across the United States and the world are doing this every day, is a bad fireworks, one bad fireworks event that was apologized for, something that we need to spend a lot of time on when there's so many other things we could be spending time on.
All right, well, I'm glad we spent time on this with you. I do want to note that this interview is being taped on
That's
Wednesday
right.
to air Thursday.
That's right.
So no
should PBS blow up or something else happen, then we're going to have to say on the air when it's being shown.
We've already said it. It's already done. Keep the fireworks to yourselves. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ted. Thank you.
Four supermarkets focusing on products for the Asian community will soon be operating in a 5-mile stretch in Mesa and in the East Valley, including a planned Korean market recently announced for the area. Here with more on this is Mesa Vice Mayor Dennis Kavanaugh and Lori Hashimoto, owner and chef of the Hana Japanese Eatery. Good to see you both. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so we got a new H Mart grocery to open at Main and Dobson. What's an H Mart?
H Mart, they like to call themselves the IKEA of the supermarket world. They're very much an upscale specialty Korean market that is now in about 13 states. And they're moving their flagship store here to Arizona. And it's going to be a large store stocking about 50,000 items with restaurants inside, serving both the Korean market as well as other international markets.
Now, at Main and Dobson and Mesa, there already is the Mekong Plaza. This is a super duper mega store, all sorts of restaurants. Another one's going to open right across the street. I mean, this Mekong's already there.
Mekong's been doing really well for the past 8 years since it opened, but we're really it's really like a confluence of Asian-themed restaurants, shops, and now these mega stores. And I think part of it is light rail opened a number of years ago right at that site, and we've got great transit access with the 202, the 60, and the 101. So, you know, that combined with the influx of population and changing population, it makes it a nice demographic market.
Does that make it too much, though, in one spot? What do you think?
Absolutely not. I think that it would fill the need for all of the different Asian communities coming in, whether they're Japanese, Korean, Filipino, Vietnamese. I think that there's a need for that so that people can start creating their base of community where they live, where they work, where they go to school.
And we should mention that a half-mile away is the international market, a half-mile away, and we have another super-duper mega store. I mean, is there that much? Look at this place. This is not a small place. They're going to make it, huh? You think they're going to make it?
Absolutely. I think what you find in those areas is that what it does is it does bring community together. And I think when people are coming in and they're now trying to settle either in a new country or let's say moving from state to state, what they find there is the ability to make connections with their own community. I think food is a very big centerpiece of having people come in to be able to learn how to network, finding jobs, finding community, finding maybe centers where they can go to retain the help that they need to become very successful in where they are.
And why this intersection? Why this area? Why Mesa? Why the confluence?
Well, I think it's a combination of factors. We've got the universities, ASU, Mesa Community College, the downtown colleges in Mesa have a really high percentage of international students. Mesa Community College has the largest population of international students of any community college in the country. And so you have that. Starting really in the 70s, you had a migration of people to work at Motorola and then later at Intel. And then in recent years, waves of immigrants from different countries in the Pacific Basin. And so we've seen a dramatic growth and change in West Mesa. So the demographics are there. The location is there. There's a lot of opportunities to locate your businesses relatively inexpensively.
And speaking of inexpensive businesses, the mom and pop Asian restaurants that exist now. I mean, I know Mekong Plaza has a ton of restaurants in there, Arizona International Market. H Mart's going to have all sorts of restaurants on that property. What happens to the mom and pop down the street? Can they survive?
Absolutely, I do feel that they can survive. I think what it does is you are able to spread out when you think about each one of those cultures and the different regions in which people come from, like let's say from the same country. Take for instance China. The different regions, southern, northern, different styles of food, Cantonese food, Mandarin food. What that allows them to do is to really be able to have almost a piece of home. So with each one of those, whether it's the restaurants that are coming into those areas or just the mom and pops that are on the outskirts, I believe that they'll all get very, very steady business.
Interesting. And now you're a long time Arizona.
Yes, I am.
Does it talk to me about what you're seeing out there regarding the influx of Asian California? I mean, what's going on here? ASU as Dennis?
I think it's wonderful. I think that what we're finding is that people understand that you are able to create a successful life here in Arizona. The cost of living is relatively inexpensive, and what you're finding now is kind of an openness where people can come and move freely and start to be in communities that they're more familiar with. Before, let's say Los Angeles or some of the bigger cities, you have what are considered your Chinatowns, your Japanese towns, and here what you're finding is a great melting pot of all of these people coming together and being able to create these communities on their own.
And this H Mart store, Valley residents used to go to California, didn't
That's
they?
correct.
To shop at H Mart?
And many of the people who can't find the things that they're used to being able to find within their culture will get together with the family, drive out for the weekend, grab what they need and come back. But now with everything that's now coming in and becoming available for them, they won't have to do that anymore.
Let's talk about the Main and Dobson. Now everything in the world's going to be there. What are you doing about traffic at that intersection?
Well, we've worked very hard because we have a little thing called the Cubs Stadium about a half mile north. So we've done a lot of infrastructure work on Dobson and did a major streetscape program there. Recently, that was just completed because we've got a big employment center just opposite the Arizona International Marketplace. So I think we've got good capacity for light rail. We've got great bus transit access, and then the highway and street access is really pretty good. You know, Mesa always has had wide streets, and we've been able to use that for our advantage.
Yes, you have. And we should mention, there is a light rail stop right there, isn't there?
Exactly, right at Main and Dobson.
Goodness gracious.
And we've seen people using light rail to come and shop at Mekong
Yeah.
Plaza and eat as well.
That's going to be it. And this opens in 2017, the new
Yes,
H Mart?
H Mart will, yes.
All right. Well, congratulations on all the successful businesses there. We'll see how it goes. Good to see you again as well. Thank you
so
both for
much.
being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ted.
Expand your horizon with the Arizona Horizon website. To get there, go to azpbs.org. Click on the Arizona Horizon tab at the top of the screen. Once there, you can access many features, watch interviews by clicking on the video button. You can also find out what's on Arizona Horizon for the coming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or want to buy a video, that's all on the website too. Want to learn about specific topics like immigration or the legislature? You can visit our special web sections. Show your support for Arizona Horizon at azpbs.org/Arizona Horizon.
Greater Phoenix SCORE is a national nonprofit dedicated to mentoring small business owners. Greater Phoenix SCORE recently announced a new leader, and he is Jay Gladney, who joins us now to talk about his vision for the organization. Welcome to Arizona Horizon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's interesting to pick up a leadership in this organization. As some of you may know, it's been around quite a while. It's actually 52 years old. It's a nationwide organization. There are 11,000 of us who we call ourselves mentors, and I'll explain that in a second in terms of why we use that term. But our mission really is to help small business. If you look at our backgrounds, it spans the gamut in terms of the kinds of things that we've done. But really the reason that we're into this right now is that most of us are retired. And so having been in the traces for that long, there's no way we can sit at home and watch soaps. So we're out in the community doing what we do.
And you mentioned mentoring. Explain your definition of mentoring.
Well, essentially the reason we use the term mentor is it's meant to indicate a long-term relationship. We provide services to our clients in any number of ways. Face-to-face mentoring is one way we do that, sponsoring business workshops, and we actually do some online or email type mentoring as well. But the key to that is really that we expect to have a long-term relationship with our client in which it's clear that we are acting in their interest. As we may have talked about, SCORE is essentially a free service. All of us who do this are volunteers, and so therefore we don't send a bill to the client. If you're looking for a business coach, you can go to the web and find 100 of them in a few moments. But I assure you that you will get a bill at the end of the day from those guys.
Well, so we found out what Greater Phoenix SCORE is. Who is Jay Gladney? Because researching you, you're not coming at this from a totally business background. Talk to us about
Well,
this.
it's a little interesting, actually. My background actually is intelligence, at least my early background. I'm a retired Air Force officer, spent 23 years in the Air Force, kind of parlayed that intelligence background into a combination with information technology, and spent the next 24 years working with companies like Network Solutions and Oracle, helping them to help our community, our intelligence community and our military community.
So, and you were a professor at the Air Force Academy,
Well,
true?
for 4 years. That was a great assignment, as a matter of fact. That was one of the part of that 23 years, and that was really a great assignment. You won't find a more dedicated and outstanding bunch of students. I was really spoiled in that regard.
So, you had that. You wind up at SCORE. How did that happen?
Well, essentially, it was a matter of deciding what was the right thing for me to do in terms of both giving back to the community. That's important to all of us who do this. But also, there's a what's in it for us. One of my guys talks about the fact that his service in SCORE is sort of an anti-Alzheimer's treatment. Basically, for us, it is we learn something every day. It's a very engaging environment. I never meet with a client, but I don't learn something. And I've been doing this about 3.5 years, and I've been in the business world, and if you count the Air Force time, over 40 years.
So with that in mind, you're now Mr. Big here at SCORE. What's your vision? How do you make SCORE more relevant?
Well, one of the things we're doing is what we're doing right now, making it more known. That is essentially, if you look around the Phoenix area, not everyone knows that SCORE is one of the best deals in town. There is just no place around that you can find this level. We've got 70 mentors within our organization, just within the local area, and of course the 1,100 mentors that are available nationwide that have this depth of business background and are willing to share that to help small businesses. One of the things I think we provide most value is we act as a sounding board. Someone who has a solid business background. Most of us have been relatively successful at this. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, when you come to me as a client and you've got a business idea, I'm going to challenge you on whether you've thought it through, and we will go through it in detail to see whether there's what I like to call any dragons out there that you haven't found.
Little U.S. intelligence tough love there, huh?
Well, that's part of the game.
Yeah. So we've got about 30 seconds left here. The number one issue for small business owners, very quickly, what is it?
Well, I think the number one issue for our new business owners and even business owners who've been in for a while is still financing. The finance market is still fairly tight out there. It hasn't fully recovered from the 2007, 2008. The pendulum has swung perhaps too far, so that it's more difficult now for businesses, even with good ideas and solid backgrounds, to get the kind of financing they need.
All right, good information. Congratulations. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. A push for a $12 minimum wage in Arizona hits the ballot, and a new study shows that Arizona's lifestyle is the #1 attraction to businesses. That's on the next Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.